14-year-old canine hero saves granddaughter from fire. His final act will break your heart. It was the kind of place that still made you believe in quiet Sundays and handshakes at the general store. A small, peaceful town tucked deep in the American countryside, where folks left their front doors unlocked and knew the names of every kid who rode by on a bicycle. Life rolled by slowly here, like the wind through the wheat fields, and that was just fine by John Harper. At 70, John lived alone in the two-story farmhouse his father had built after the war. The paint was peeling, and the porch creaked like an old man's knees. But the place had a soul just like John. A retired military veteran and former police officer, John had spent his life in service, first to his country, then to his town. His days of chasing suspects and marching information were long gone, but the discipline and dignity of that life still clung to him, like the faded medals in the wooden shadow box above his fireplace. He wasn't entirely alone, though. Rex was always at his side. 14 years old now, Rex was a sable-coated German shepherd with grizzled fur round his muzzle and a back that arched like an old bridge under the weight of time. But even with stiff joints and fading eyes, there was a light in Rex's gaze, a soldier's light, loyal and steady. He and John had retired together from the force, partners in the K-9 unit. They'd shared everything from high-stress busts to long patrols and the warmth of one another's company during quiet night shifts. These days, their lives were simpler. Early morning walks past the edge of the cornfields, shared meals at the kitchen table. Rex always got a few scraps. Afternoons spent sitting on the porch, watching the clouds roll by like slow parades. There was a rhythm to it, one John had grown to love, one he was afraid to lose. And then came the visit to the vet. Dr. Milton was gentle, his voice threaded with that careful kindness reserved for bad news. "He's a tough old guy," he said, patting Rex's head, but his heart's slowing down. His hearing's mostly gone, and the arthritis is spreading. Might be a few months, maybe less. John didn't say much. He just nodded, held Rex's paw in silence, and stared past the clinic walls to the memories flooding in. Rex leaping over fences like a rocket when he was just 3. Rex dragging John out of harm's way after a meth bust turned violent. Rex standing firm between John and a would-be attacker. Rex asleep at his feet during long stackouts. Every memory sharp and golden in the mind, like summer sunlight. That night, John sat beside Rex on the porch, stroking his ears gently. The dog's breathing was slow, steady. "You've done more than enough," John whispered, "but I'm not ready to let you go." A few days later, the phone rang. It was his daughter, Megan. She was heading out of town for a work emergency and needed someone to watch Emma, her 7-year-old. Of course, John said yes. Emma adored her grandpa and Rex. She loved brushing his fur, whispering secrets into his ear, pretending he understood every word. The night Emma arrived, a storm rolled in. Thick clouds swallowed the sky, and thunder cracked like cannon fire. John had just tucked her into bed when the wind picked up, howling through the trees like an old ghost. Lightning forked the sky in brilliant flashes. Then, without warning, a bolt struck the old oak tree behind the house. The crash was deafening. A flash, a boom, and then fire. The dry summer had left everything like tinder. Flames leapt from the shattered tree into the nearby barn, swallowing it in seconds. Smoke poured into the air, thick and choking. John's heart seized when he realized Emma was no longer in bed. He ran outside, barefoot, rain stinging his face, his voice hoarse as he called her name again and again. Emma, Emma. No answer. Just the crackling roar of fire and the hammering rain. Panic clawed at his chest. The barn. She must have gone to the barn. Her doll had been left there earlier that afternoon. It was just like her to sneak out, thinking she could fetch it before bed. John stumbled toward the blaze, but the smoke blinded him, and the heat forced him back. And then barking, low and raspy, but urgent. Rex! The old dog limped past John, ears low against the rain, nose working furiously in the smoke. He hesitated only a moment before launching himself toward the barn, tail low, legs trembling, but determined. Rex! No, John shouted. But the dog was already gone. Inside the burning barn, the world was fire and fear. Emma huddled behind a pile of hay bales, coughing, eyes wide with terror. She couldn't scream. The smoke took her voice, and then through the chaos a shape emerged. Rex! His coat was wet, but flames still licked the straw around him. He barked, once twice louder than his old lungs should have allowed. Emma's eyes met his, and she moved. Rex came closer, nudging her gently. She clung to him, sobbing, and he gripped her sleeve in his teeth, careful and precise, just like he'd been trained years ago. Step by agonizing step, he led her back through the smoke, barking every few feet, guiding John to them. John heard it followed the sound like a beacon, and then he saw them. Rex, emerging from the barn, half collapsed, dragging Emma behind him. John rushed in, scooped Emma into his arms, coughing and crying with relief. "I got you," he gasped. "I got you, baby." Rex collapsed at his feet. His sides heaved, and his fur was singed along his flanks. Smoke curled from his nostrils as his chest rose and fell in shallow rhythm. He didn't whine. He didn't bark again. He just lay there, eyes fixed on Emma, as if to say mission accomplished. John carried them both inside. The fire department came. The barn was lost, but the house was safe. Emma, after being checked by paramedics, was shaken but unharmed. And Rex, he was fading. Dr. Milton came that night. He knelt beside the dog, checking his pulse, rubbing an ointment onto the burns. "He's exhausted," the vet said softly. "Smoke inhalation. He's hurting, but it's more than that. He's letting go." John lay beside Rex on the floor. Emma curled up next to him, her tiny hand on his broad chest. "You're my hero, old boy," John whispered, voice cracking. "You saved her." Rex lifted his head a final time, eyes cloudy, but still so full of love. His tail thumped weakly once against the floor. Then he laid it down. His eyes closed. His breathing slowed. And in the arms of the man he had protected for a lifetime, with the girl he'd just saved at his side, Rex slipped quietly into sleep. The days that followed were heavy with silence. The house felt different, emptier. Even Emma, usually full of energy and mischief, moved quietly. She spent hours sitting beside the little stone in the garden, where they had laid Rex beneath the oak tree. John had carved the marker himself. Canine hero, loyal friend, forever guardian neighbors came by to pay respects. Officers from the force, old friends, even strangers who had heard the story. But John knew no tribute could truly capture what Rex had meant to him. Time moved on, as it always does. Emma grew older. Her visits became more frequent. She'd ask John to tell her the story again. She'd say of how Rex had pulled her from the fire. She memorized every detail, eyes wide, voice solemn. And when she turned 18, she joined the academy. John watched her swear in as a canine officer, his heart full to bursting. Her uniform fit her perfectly, straight-backed and proud. She carried a photo of Rex in her pocket on the first day. Years later, she would get her own partner, a young, eager German shepherd named Thor. She trained him with patience and precision, just like her grandpa had once taught her. And every time she stepped out on patrol, she remembered the night an old dog defied age and pain to save her life. The night a warrior made one final stand. The night loyalty became legacy.